in this whistleblower hotline? It's yes or no.
We'll make sure that they are aware.
I hope that you do for the sake of the American public and for the sake of your IRS employees. We've established a portal to allow IRS employees to share information with this committee about any kind of conduct that's going on at the IRS that they think that we should know of, since we're the Committee of Jurisdiction for Oversight. I sent a letter to the IRS and asked that it be shared with all IRS employees. The agency has thus far refused to do so. That is completely unacceptable. IRS employees should know the options they have to report wrongdoing to Congress that they may witness at work. This is a simple issue. It's about basic transparency and accountability. Will you commit to sharing information about our IRS whistleblower portal with IRS employees?
Well, I want to say that we have very strong whistleblower
No, that's what I've heard, but would you, my question is will you share our whistleblower with the IRS employees, yes or no?
I think what is important is that IRS employees know what their full set of options are, and they certainly can report to this committee. They can report to other committees.
But will you share this whistleblower information to your IRS employees, yes or no?
I will make sure that they have the appropriate information, that they know what their obligations are and their full set of obligations and full set of
So does that include this whistleblower hotline? Does that include this whistleblower hotline, that's something you'll share with them?
I will make sure that they know all of the options that they have.
Does that include this whistleblower hotline?
It includes this committee, certainly.
And this whistleblower hotline? It's yes or no.
We'll make sure that they are aware.
I hope that you do for the sake of the American public and for the sake of your IRS employees. On February 16th of this year, President Biden issued an executive order on advancing racial equity through the federal government. That was on February 16th. Treasury Department officials have repeatedly said they want to design tax compliance around racial equity. These statements create the implication that the IRS should take into consideration race and gender in how it manages tax compliance and decides who to audit. But tax returns do not ask taxpayers to identify themselves by race. So the IRS doesn't even have the data on race. That's where the president's executive order comes in. The order instructs the federal government to apply an equity focus to several areas, including to, quote, prevent and remedy discrimination, including by protecting the public from various discrimination. It seems clear that this executive order is instructing the IRS to change its process to make audit decisions based on taxpayers' race. Secretary Yellen, do you think there is any circumstance where the IRS should consider a person's race or gender when deciding whether someone should be audited?
The IRS doesn't know an individual's race, and we are certainly not proposing that race be reported on tax returns. However, the IRS does need to be careful to ensure that there is fairness in tax administration. And when studies like some that have recently been published suggest that algorithms that the IRS may be using are racially biased in the sense they are much more likely to audit, for example, taxpayers of color rather than others with exactly similar circumstances, it's important for the IRS to become aware of that and to make sure that the procedures that they use are fair. But that certainly does not mean looking at race and deciding to whom to audit.
So in regards to audits and fairness, you'll never use race or gender in deciding audits?
Race is not available, and as I said, it's important for the IRS to make sure that their tax administration
So if race
is
isn't
fair.
if race isn't available, your statement about the algorithmics that goes after racial preferences.
Well, the investigators were able to infer that the algorithm had that impact in spite of the fact that they weren't certain what the race was of any particular individual. They used methods to infer that. And this is a more general matter that algorithms are often used. They're sometimes used by those who provide credit. They're not based on race, but it may turn out that they are indirectly and unintentionally using race, and it's important to understand and correct that when it's occurring.